Cool.
From Best Self, the Icebreaker Starter Pack, the Deep section. Look, my god sisters, we all on a text thread, and they like, I can't believe it sold out. What are we gonna do? Oh my god, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I told y'all.
I can't believe it sold out that quickly though.
Yes.
Like that's insane. But that's what's up. People's like, I'm going. So yeah.
Yeah. They are not. It is not a test.
And not a game.
It
Listen.
is not a drill.
That's what's up. Go ahead.
So the first question is, in what ways do you feel your childhood was happier than other people's?
Mm, that's a good question. I don't think I ever sat and thought about this.
Yeah.
Comparing my childhood to other people's. But I will say that I felt like mine was filled with love. There was never
Mm-hmm.
that moment that my mom didn't like express her love for me, or like just showed it outwardly, or just talking to other people, like just how much she loved her kids. Like I never missed that of like being affectionate with my mom, or anything like that. Like hugs and kisses like that was kind of normal for us. Um, so I will say, when I meet people or I have friends who, are not, and sometimes I can not be affectionate too, which is so weird. Where I'm just like, nah. But I do feel like my mom showed us that, which was good, and I feel like I show that to my son, and he shows it to other people too in the way that he interacts with people. So I will say from my childhood, I got a lot of that, like just affection and love and laughing. Like we spent a lot of time like laughing, whether it was like ribbon or just being silly. Like I feel like we did that in our house. Like laughter was important to us. It kind of got us through bad times. It got us through good times, of course, but like we could always find something to laugh at. And we have like so many inside jokes in our family of stuff we'll just think of, and it's like, oh, you remember that? Yeah. So I think, I don't know if other people had similar situations like that, but I can recall my childhood being very much like that.
Yeah. My favorite picture of you and your mom is when you're young and you're like literally sitting on her.
Yeah, on her stomach. Yeah,
Yes.
and that's very much was our relationship. Just me and her, like laughing, playing, like that's us.
Right. That
Yeah,
is so funny.
yeah. So that's what I would say. What about you?
I think it's a good question because, I think a lot of times when people reflect on their childhood, it could be negative, so it's good to appreciate what was good about it because there's always something.
For sure. Yeah.
Um, One thing that I've always appreciated about my childhood is having my brother
Mm,
and just, and for our relationship and us being as close as we are and for us always being that way. Like, I
yes.
think sometimes siblings have to, either they're not close and then it's not till they become adults where they're like, oh, maybe we can be friends, or they just have separate independent lives and there's no intersection. But my brother has always been my best friend, forever. And ever since I was a child, his friends were my friends. I stole some of his friends, it's a thing.
Hey.
um, when I was in high school, he used to walk me to every class because I have no sense of direction. And he was like, this child gonna get lost. We would eat lunch together. I also discovered that he was crazy when we were in college and we would go to parties and I would see his friends. I was just thinking like, I would always just think like, oh, they're just here. Hey, hi, brother's friends. How are you? Right. And then later I
Well,
realized that, yeah, it was one time I think we were at Whitewater and like the night was over and we were leaving and I saw his friends and I was just like waving like, hey. And they were like, oh, there you are. And I was like, what do you mean there I am? Like,
what?
and they were like, oh, we've been looking for you all night. And I'm like, why? And they were like, yes, because your brother has us watch you
Oh
when you're
Lord!
at these
Like
parties.
what? I
And
got
I was like,
bodyguards out
you
here.
psycho. Like, I mean, you crazy. I don't know what else to say.
Listen.
But no, but I'm just that's one thing that I've always been grateful for is that the relationship that I have with my brother, and now that I have stepsisters, I'm grateful for that as well because I know that everyone doesn't they don't have the bond. Like some people are related, but they're not you know, they're not connected. So I'm grateful for the connection and the friendship. of my brother.
I love that. And I think ever since I've known you, like I've always admired that because I didn't figure I had brothers till I was like older and they were like my dad's kids. But I was just like, oh, that is so cool to have a brother. And then you all are not like too far in age. Like I felt like it was just perfect. Like that seems so fun to have a brother and to look out for you and take care of you and be there for you. Like and again, I have a sister, but our relationship was never like you all. So I always admire that about y'all. Like that is so dope to have a sibling where you're just like, that's my bestie. Like, no, I'll give him everything because that's my dude. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And if I ever have kids, that's what I want their relationship to be. But I'm like, well, my luck, it won't be because I'll probably be trying to force it.
No,
And they'll
no.
be like, I hate them. And I'll be like, oh.
Wait,
Right. Right. Like, what? How is that even possible?
yeah.
But
But no. Because you all are 2 or 3 years apart.
girl, we Irish twins, honey.
No, it's like 18 months apart.
We are like, is it 14 months? I think
I
we're
didn't
14
realize it was
months.
that close.
Yes.
But that's fun. Like I feel like that's how it should be. Like, no, we need to be closer together because then we go through the same things. Like y'all went to high school together. Like that's fun.
I could not imagine doing high school without my brother. Like, I
Yeah.
don't even know, like, in my mind, that wouldn't have, I don't even know how that would have happened.
I'm so mad
So,
I just made your brother so much older. I did not realize y'all
yeah,
was
I don't know why you made him that much older either.
yeah, like what? He's really not. He's our age.
Yes.
That's
I
crazy.
mean, he's older than me by the same amount that you are, practically.
Exactly. Okay.
Y'all are like the same age. No, I'm joking.
You're the same age, my brother. What are you talking about? A mess. But no, that's how it should be. And I think like having children, that's why I'm like JR is still the only child. Cause I'm like the gap is too big now. Like, nah, y'all not gonna be friends. Like this is not fun.
I mean, I think even when the age gap is large, once they become adults, then they might become
Yeah.
more friendly. Because I
Yeah.
know my mom and my uncle, my uncle is closer to me in age,
Yeah.
right, than my
Yeah.
mom. So it wasn't until he became an adult that their relationship changed. But
Yeah.
before then, she treated him like a child because he is, or he was.
Well, he
So
was, right. When you look at
yeah.
it. And that is definitely my experience. I just felt like the little baby, but yeah. But that's what's up. But we're actually going into our very first break. Sorry, y'all, because I was a little late today. But before we get to the next question, we will go to our very first commercial break. So thank you for tuning in to Brunch with Bestie show. And of course, we will be right back. So thank you all for listening in.
Welcome to Brunch with Besties.
Hey,
We're back.
my cues.
I know, and I wasn't really paying attention. That's the other issue with being virtual. Your girl got distracted.
Oh Lord.
Oh, I'm glad you're answering these questions first. I'm like, I don't know.
No,
How do you get?
I thought your brother was so much older than you. Like, what is wrong with me today? A mess.
Yeah, I don't know. That's really strange.
A mess.
Because actually, a lot of people used to think that he and I were twins.
Yeah, and girl, a mess. Okay, next question, because I'm clearly losing it today.
Because you and your sister have an age gap, so you tried to give me one too.
Clearly,
You was projecting.
I was projecting. A mess.
Mm-hmm. This one says, "How do you get in the way of your own success?"
This is another really good one. For me, I definitely it's self-doubt. To just say it. I feel like I was even asked today, like, okay, well, what's next for you? Like, what do you want to do? And I always like second guess myself and second guess my accomplishments. Like, I've done a lot of great work in education, but I feel like, has it been enough? Like, well, I couldn't possibly do that because I don't have the licensure, the certification. Just talking myself out of things because I feel like I don't have, I don't know, XYZ, like the certain qualifications, but I could have them if I just try to do it. But it's a lot of like self-doubt. Like, I'm not sure if I would be good in this role or if I can even do that. And yeah, so I think for me, like, that's what's getting in the way of my own success. And even not even that, but just with my journal, like just thinking like, okay, well, I wrote a journal, but can I really like get this off the ground, or can I continue to like sell journals? And how do I do events or whatever the case may be? Like, I kind of just second guess myself and second guess my potential of not knowing all the answers, but not even giving it a try as well. So that's something I need to work on and continue to work on and get better at. But just the self-doubt of talking myself out of it, like, I can't do that. Like, no way you could do that and be successful. So that's for me, like, just the self-doubt of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So when you have the self-doubt and you say, I can't do that, what makes you convinced that you can't if you haven't tried?
Well, I think just the lack of trying makes me be like, all right, well, you can't do it because you haven't figured out a way to even execute or do it. Or I'll start to figure out how to execute, and I'm just like, well, this is a lot. Like, I don't think I could achieve all of this, so I'm just not even gonna try. So those are things that I deal with personally. And I know, like, it's crazy because I'm a teacher, and at heart, I'm a teacher.
You're like, I don't teach no more, dog.
But I tell my students this as well, where I'm just like, well, you have to at least try. Like, here, I'll walk you through it, and then I'm kind of like, the dad teaching you how to ride the bikes with no handlebars. Like, I'm gonna give you the push, but then I'm gonna back away and let you kind of do it yourself.
Well, no, training wheels. We need handlebars.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Girl, I'm tripping today. But yes, no, training wheels. So I think for me, I'm just not even willing to give myself the push. Like, I see other people executing things where I'm like, oh, I could have done that, or that's an idea I had. But it's like they weren't afraid to try, so they were able to execute it. Where it's like, I let my fear get the best of me of saying like, I can't do it, and then there's an idea that's kind of just sitting there, not being executed, because I won't give myself the opportunity to fail at it, because I need to just at least try. It could either fail or it could be a success, but I don't know that until I try it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think a lot of us do that, right? Where it's like we make it out to be so much bigger than it is, or we don't just break it up into small steps. Like, well, let me send the email.
Yeah.
Let me schedule the meeting.
Yeah.
Let me make the flyer.
Yeah.
Or let me outsource it, right? Let me find somebody to make the flyer. If that's making it too hard, right, then let me do that.
Yeah.
Or like realizing that we can make it manageable, Like realizing that if it's something that I'm creating, I can do it however I want. I don't have to follow the blueprint that I see. Like I get to be
That part.
creative and do it the way that I want. And I remember in the beginning stages when this was a podcast before it was a show, that's one of the things that I kept sort of selling to us as a group, right? When there were 4 of us, it was like, well, it's ours. So we can do it however we want. We just have to agree on however that is, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that's part of the beauty in when you are creating something, right? So you don't have to do it the way that other folks have done it. And I think that a lot of times makes it difficult because you're like, I don't have what they have, or I don't know what they know. But it's like, well, what do I know then? What do I have? You know, let me just work with what I got.
Exactly. Yep. That's it. Yeah, that is absolutely it. So yeah, that's a great question though, that I think everybody should think about. Like what are you doing that's getting in the way of your success? And that for me is huge. Because it makes me own up to that, and then it makes me say it out loud where I'm just like, okay, like I need to fix this. Like I need to stop doing that because this is the only life that we get. So all the ideas that I have in my head, like you can try it, try and fail, and that's okay. Like just keep going. So
Yeah, I think that we're afraid of the ing part, right? Because while you're failing, you can't see the success.
yeah.
So it's like, what if this just continues to be a failure?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what?
And then what? Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, what if it doesn't? And you don't know. But either way, you gotta try.
Yeah. And sometimes too, I think you might discover that you're not that interested in it or you're not that connected to it. So you're like, I kind of don't care. It's just a waste of my time now, right? I'm
That
not invested.
yeah.
So, and I remember Keith saying when he was starting the Good News, he was like, trying is 2 years. Like, trying is me saying, I'm going to do this every week for 2 years. And then he upped it to twice a week.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I'll learn faster if I'm touching it twice a week. And I'm like, well, if you think about it, once a week is 52 times. Right. So you literally just doubled it. Right. Now you're doing it 104 times. So yeah, you better had learned faster, right?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of struggling with this question because usually if there's something that I consider to be success that I want, I create a plan and I do it. You know, so I don't know. It doesn't mean that I'm like 100% successful in everything that I do. let's not be fooled. But I don't know. How do you get in the way of your own success? I will say though that along the way I will procrastinate.
Okay.
Like which is a form of self-sabotage, right? Like
I know all about that too. Yeah.
yeah. So I definitely do that. But usually there's a point in time where I'm like, okay, are we doing this or not? You know, where I'm like, all right, if we're doing this, then I'll like kind of force myself to do the actions or do the things that I say that, or the things that I know are required to get to where I need to be. But there certainly is some procrastination. Sometimes I'll find 10 other things to do besides I'll be like, I should clean the house. That's what I should do with a toothbrush. Like, you know, got to get in every nook and cranny.
Yeah.
Right. Or you know what? I know that I haven't folded the laundry in 3 days because it's been sitting there. Now's the time, you know, right when I should be doing something else. I'll be like, you know what? Now's the time. It's time for this. And not only am I going to fold it and put away, honey, we got to reorganize everything.
Okay, listen.
Okay. Like, you know what? I'm going to go buy some new organizers.
You just made a whole project.
Exactly. Like, because you know, whatever I do, I got to do it big, child. So if I'm going to procrastinate, I'm going to be daggone good at it. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Listen. No,
yeah. So I will have my moments where I do that, but I also learned when I was in undergrad, I was reading something. I think it was when I was in a psychology class. It was talking about like the optimum stress level that you need to be productive.
Mm.
And it was talking about how like some people they could procrastinate or it could be other things that they do, but they create enough anxiety where it's like, okay, now I got to do this. Like
Yeah.
it has to be done right now. So sometimes I might be doing that, but most of the times I just be procrastinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
me at work, creating the anxiety. That's me at work, especially during like test season time, like map testing or like whatever formal assessment we have to do, because I'm responsible for that. But now I'm in a classroom too, on top of doing my regular job. Yeah,
yeah,
my anxiety was at all time high. Like last night, I was a mess. So yeah, because I was like, oh my god, I got so much stuff to do, and it was just crazy. So yeah, I feel that. No,
yeah.
girl.
And I will say too, sometimes like on Fridays, that's the day that I go get my facial.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. No.
um, sometimes I'm just like it could be all hell breaking loose, and I'll be like, I'll get the reminder that it's time for me to get my facial, and I'll just be like, Control Alt Delete. That sounds like a Monday problem,
Not a Friday thing.
not a Friday problem. Okay, I got it. It's time to cleanse, refresh,
Yes.
release, go get this pampering, and be set for the weekend. But then on Sunday night, I'd be like, I'd
Girl.
be like, why did you do that on Friday?
Girl. And I haven't had a Sunday night feeling in a long time either. Maybe it's because I'm teaching too. Like the teacher Sunday night anxiety is different. And I was just like, oh my God, I have all this stuff to do and the kids. So
Exactly.
I was just like, I was tossing and turning like all night. It was just a bad. So yeah, it was crazy.
Exactly. Like, yeah. So yeah, on Friday I'll be like, yeah. That looks really good for Monday. But then
Okay.
come Monday, I'll be like, I don't have time to do any of this. Like I got meeting after meeting. When am I going to get any of this done? But where there's a will, there's a way. And it always somehow works out. So yeah, so I think, I think procrastination is probably my go-to for when I'm going to self-sabotage my own success.
Amen. I love it. Cause same.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What is the most surprising self-realization you've had?
Man. I'm thinking, should I say that? I'm gonna say it, but no, I think for me,
This is gonna be good. I can't wait.
Just say it. The last couple of days, it's definitely been dating the same person like over and over again. I think a lot of it is stemming from, of course, my dad issues, but just finding men who are very similar to my dad, which is crazy because I didn't really think about it until recently. Like just how my dad is kind of like, this is what I wanted to do. Like he was very firm in like, okay, well, I know I'm a dad, but this is what I wanted to do. And not saying like the guys that I date are like bad fathers. I won't say that. They're actually really great dads. But I think just emotionally just unavailable. And that's a lot of how my dad is, even with me. Like, he'll call and he'll have like all of these things going on in his life, and then he won't really like make an effort to ask me about like what's going on in my life or anything like that. Like it's just very like, it's about me and this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm going to do. So I find myself dating guys. Like I find myself being attracted to guys like that as well. And it's funny because other guys try to like date me and talk to me and stuff, and I'm just like, no, not you. Like I don't know what it is. Like I feel like I have to have a connection with them, but I feel like the connection is me like looking for the negative traits that my dad has because that's what's familiar, which is weird. So this revelation or realization, I should say, has come about in the last couple of days where I'm just like, you have to face that and fix that and understand that that's not comfort is like a trauma bond. Like, this is toxic for you. So that's something that I have to continue to realize as I'm currently going through this, actually, of figuring out, like, okay, well, why does that feel like comfort for you when it's really not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Pastor Teray said a lot of times we want to be with people that we have chemistry with, but chemistry can combust, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of times it's comfortable because it's familiar.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So that's what it is. And we are creatures of habit. So we like to go back to what's familiar.
Yeah.
Right. So if the love that you experienced from your dad was emotionally unavailable, then that's what's familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So even though while you're going through it, you may not like it, it is something that you're comfortable with, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. Too comfortable. Where I'm just, and it's crazy because, you know, doing this healing work and going on this journey, like, it definitely, like, again, my anxiety last night of going through everything else. So I was just like, it really, like, hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, girl, like, this is it. Like, you see it. Like, so now what are you gonna do? And it's funny because as soon as I opened up, like, Instagram, I don't know if y'all follow, like, Kira Jane.
Yeah.
Oh, you follow her too?
I think so.
Yeah, she makes, like, all of these, like, wonderful quotes and posts and stuff like that. But it was, like, the first thing that I saw when I got on Instagram this morning. And it was just, like, just about ending things with people who are emotionally unavailable to you. And I was just like, wow, this is right on time. Like, this is actually what I needed to see. And yeah, it was just like, girl, like, and we talked about this a couple shows ago of, like, being in the cycles and making the same mistakes and seeing if you're really healed and things like that. So it's just like, all right, this is obviously, like, another test for me to be like, are you learning the lessons or are you still, like, trying to do what you want to do? And are you standing in your own way? And are you still accepting what's comfortable for you?
Yeah.
So I think these are just learning lessons, and I'm kind of going through it right now as we talk about it on this show all the time. But that's what makes our show wonderful because it's real, and I'm actually trying to figure that out for myself right now.
Yeah. It can definitely be difficult, you know, when you talk about dating people that's like your parents, because we don't get to choose our parents, right? So they are who they are, and we must accept who they are.
Yes, yeah.
And I too dated people very much like my dad, right? Like they literally had addictions.
Yeah, yeah.
Like one was an alcoholic. And of course I refused to see that because I was like, oh no.
Girl, I'm like, no, like, we're not like that, but yeah, it's the same thing.
Exactly. And so I think that it's difficult because even though my dad was absent and even though I didn't even know that he had an addiction, I think it's so crazy how you can repeat cycles that you're not even aware of. Like you're not aware of it, but I think that on some level you know, like there's a certain knowing. Like even though it's crazy because for a long time I never even saw him drink.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So but it's crazy how even if, and it's crazy because I was telling my brother this too. Like a lot of times people don't do things in front of their kids because they think that they're concealing from them who they are.
Yeah.
But if you're an addict and you never do drugs in front of your child, you still function like an addict.
Yep. Yep.
So your child still takes on and learns those traits.
Yeah. And those
right?
Yeah.
Even if they don't know that that's what it is. So the association isn't there, but the habit is. So it's so hard to unlearn what you're familiar with.
Yes, that's the part. And like you said, even if you aren't aware of it, because like you just said, my dad was not in my life. Like, I don't know him. Like,
So that's what I thought too. I was like, like years ago, I used to be like, well, I probably have some type of daddy issue, but it can't be like this because I haven't seen it. Like
yep,
I haven't witnessed it. But it's like you don't even have to witness it. You can just be a product of it. It's the whole nature versus nurture thing, right?
yes, yes,
So yeah, I always find it interesting.
very,
But and then I remember once I actually realized that he was an alcoholic, I still didn't want to accept it because I was like, for years, in my mind, you have not been, but actually you were. You just concealed it,
yeah, yep.
right? So,
And
and now I don't want to accept.
same, seriously. And for me, it's like they're like the dudes don't never not tell me, which is the part where I be feeling like dumb hindsight, like not while I'm going through it, but after I realize like what's happening, I'm like, but he told you, so why are you just trying to force something that's not gonna be there?
Yeah.
So lessons learned always, and yeah, that's where I'm at right now with that.
So, what are you gonna do?
What am I gonna do? Now
What? So, what was the self? So, the self realization was that you date guys that are not emotionally available. So
yeah.
then what boundaries or what are you going to put in place to prohibit that going forward? Like what are you going to do to make sure that that does not happen again?
So I need to start listening to myself. Like all the shit that I said, like, oh, I'm not gonna do this and I'm not going to date guys with this, and that. Like I need to stick to it. Like I can't budge on it because I feel like it's leading me down the same road that I said I didn't want to go down anyway. So for me, it's like if I can't listen to myself, like how am I expect somebody else to listen to me and do the things that I'm telling them to do? So I really need to take that to heart and listen to what I'm telling myself because that's important. And I can't like bypass that or budget because I'm lonely or whatever the case may be. I don't know. So
I was watching something on Instagram just now, all those little reels, and the guy was talking about how he was like, I was at work and usually I wait till after work and I go get what I want to eat. He was like, but I was starving. So I went to McDonald's and he was like, I don't eat McDonald's. I know that this McDonald's has bad customer service, blah, blah, blah. And he goes to the drive through. He says that they were rude to him. Then they told him to pull up and wait in the parking lot. He said they brought him his food. It was cold. It was this, it was that. And he was like, I was really upset. And he's like, and then I told myself, you settling.
mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
didn't want McDonald's. You already know the customer service is bad, but yet here you are.
here you are.
Right? You know that their food is not good and now you're upset because it's cold. So you literally got what you paid for. Like you got what you know to be true. Like you manifested what you already know. And so he was basically saying how a lot of times we will let our hunger for something
Mm-hmm.
allow us to settle for it.
Yep.
And then we'll find ourselves further delaying it
Yep.
because it's not what you want anyway.
Yeah. That is the perfect example of like what my life right now. Because it's like I do know better, but I'm not doing better because I want what I want. And I feel like that's been a constant thing with me. Like I want what I want when I want it and just being very impatient to see it through. But yeah, and I've definitely had that experience with food places too, where I just know the place is gonna be trash, and I go there anyway, and I'll be like,
Right, exactly.
So
Same.
yeah, and the same with men. Like I know you're gonna be trash, but I'm going to
Listen, I heard another man, and this was Pastor Jerry Flowers, say, "Don't keep calling men trash if your dating field is the garbage can."
that part.
Something like that, he said.
And that
Or
makes
he said, when you're searching for them in a wasteland or something. I
mhm.
was like, first of all, get out of my business.
First of all, Jerry, you a little loud now, Jerry. Gee, you're talking too loud. Oh my God. But yeah, it's just, and then it's like, at first I was like mad at the dude But then I was like, nah, you really need to be mad at yourself. Like, this is on you. Like, they're doing what they said. Like, they told you they're acting out how they said they would. So be mad at yourself. So I think that's the part where I've gotten better at. Now I need to direct my emotions to me. Like, what are you doing? Like, I need to be accountable for this outcome and for the choice that I made. So here we are. So I think accountability is huge for me right now, and just trying to figure out the realization that something's got to change, because you can't keep going through this same cycle. Like, that's the realization.
Yeah.
And something has to change within me. Like, I can't change everybody else. Like, the change has to start within me.
Right. That part. No,
Yeah.
I agree. That's me as well. Right. All that, I echo all your sentiments. I think that that's been one of my self realization moments, is that I gotta stop complaining about stuff because I either I'm allowing it or I am enabling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I posted this in our Facebook group today, but it was Iyanla saying that she was with somebody for 14 years and she realized that they didn't love her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, well, he didn't love me the way that I needed to be loved. And it's my job to observe how people love and decide if I want to participate or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she said, I kept thinking, oh, he's going to get it. He's going to get it. And he never got it. So she just ended that relationship, right? And she's like, I got multiple degrees, whatever, but it just hit me one day. You don't love me the way I want to be loved.
Yeah.
You know. And I think for me,
Before you get into it, because we are about to go on a break.
good, because I don't know what I'm gonna say. So
Okay.
cool. I'll figure it out by the time we get together.
I took up all the time, and now the time
Good.
to run out so bad. But yes, we are definitely about to get into these breaks. These breaks are coming super fast today, and I feel like because I was rushing and being late, and here we are. But thank you for tuning in to Brunch with Bestie show. We will be right back. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will continue with the cards when we come back. All right, and we is back.
Yep, and I still don't have it.
Oh, dang.
No. I think I like where you were going with relationships, and I think that mine is similar, right? Where I feel like I've definitely made some improvements, right?
Yeah.
So I do see the evolution, right? I'll say that. I don't necessarily feel like they're the same guy, but I feel like it reveals to me a new area, right, that I need to heal or that I need to focus on, and really learn about what's important or what I want to value. Um, I will say though that after I said that whole thing about addiction, I thought about it, and the one was an alcoholic, but there were other guys that were smokers,
Yeah.
which I hate, cannot stand. Right. So, which is just another form of addiction.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So there is a little thread there,
Girl.
a little thread there. Um, but I don't know. I guess that makes sense though, because my mom was also an alcoholic. So I don't know.
Mm.
You know. Yeah. So it's hard to unlearn, and I think that what I have to make myself do is to be uncomfortable with the things that I say I want. Right. So it's like, oh, you're used to this, but you said you don't like that.
It's the
Because
part.
in the long run, it doesn't serve you.
Yep.
Right. So it's like, well, then what does good look like? Or what I want look like? And how can I get there? Which can be challenging. But one thing Fantasia said, so at the TDJ's conference, Fantasia was there and she was on a panel
Nice.
and she was talking about, um, her husband. And she was saying how she was like, I had to find someone who had similar traumas that I have so that we could navigate them together. And she was like, my husband doesn't have a pretty past. I think she said he's like a 4-time felon.
Wow. Okay.
Right. But, he changed his life around.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just like, you can Google my failures, because she dropped out of high school or whatever, right? There was a whole movie on her story, but she was just like, we have some of the same traumas and we work through them together. So I thought that was interesting. One thing that I was talking to Scarlett about was I was telling her that I have to listen to the things that I say, because I think I told you, and I said this on the podcast, but I will write stuff in my journal. Then that thing will happen. And then I'll be like, you did know this because you wrote
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So it's the accountability for me.
Yeah.
Right. So one thing that I told her is that it's always a telltale sign for myself when I say something like, I'm just going to, because I'm trying to justify some action that I shouldn't be doing. Right. And I'm trying to put guardrails on it because I already know that I shouldn't be doing it. I'm just going to ... That's a red flag.
Woo.
I'm just going to go on one date. No, you know that you shouldn't be going on any with this man. So why are we trying to set a boundary on something that we shouldn't be doing? I'm just going, no. It's a strong no. So that's like my red flag for me is I have to watch what I say and actually interpret it and like put it in context, because I say stuff all the time because I know it. But then I won't follow through on the action. I won't do what's appropriate. um or at least the old me. Now I will, because I told you the guy that I just stopped talking to, girl, he called me every day, I just don't answer.
Yeah. That's
Because I'd be like, I said it's a no, right? So the second that I answer, I'm going against what I already know to be true.
That's the part.
And what I've already communicated.
Yep.
That's the other thing, is that I feel like there are times where people are so used to getting a yes from me that when I say no, they don't believe it. And then they'll be like, well, that wasn't clear. And then I'll think about exactly what I said. I'm like, I was very explicit.
Yeah. Like I said what I said.
I literally said, I'm not doing this no more. But somehow your brain didn't understand that. So I have to make sure that my actions align with my words.
That part.
And one thing that I'm not going to do is repeat myself, because you can choose not to hear all day, but honey, I said it.
Listen.
So if you choose not to hear it, that's on you.
Listen.
But I make sure that I communicate explicitly what it is. So if I say that it's a wrap, if I say it's over, if I say I'm done, then it is going to look, feel, and sound like I'm done.
That I need to get there. That's good, because and that's important. Like you said, I love how you said like it's gonna look, feel, and sound like all of those things working together.
Because I think that sometimes that's why people be like, "Oh, well, you didn't mean so." Because when they hear it, they're like, "Oh, she don't mean that."
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, but so then when the look and the sound comes in, they're like, "How come this?" And I'm like, "Because remember when I said this is in alignment with that, right?" So it's going to look, feel, and sound like me being done, because that's what it is.
Clear to me, man.
So yeah. So I think that So I think that every time, like when I date someone new, it's a new mirror
Yeah.
of like, okay, maybe there was some progress, but here's this other thing. Did you look at that?
Woo.
Maybe you should look at that.
Listen.
Then I'd be like, I don't want to look at that. No, we ain't got time to look at that.
I don't want.
I just want to have fun. Okay, I don't want to look at
I
stuff.
don't want to look at
Okay,
it.
I don't want to do that no more. But healing is a journey.
Let the mirror be mirroring. Like you gonna
Yeah,
look.
the mirror be mirroring. That's for sure. And the other thing I was telling Scarlett, I was like, so the last guy that I was dating was a totally different zodiac sign. Thank God. But I was telling her that, so while I said that I don't feel like a lot of them are the same person, the more I think about it, maybe they are, because usually they were the same 3 zodiac signs.
Yeah, yeah.
So now I'd be like, no, excuse me, when's your birthday? Sorry, can't do it. Won't do it. Already did that. Not doing it again. Does that sound crazy? Yes, it does.
But
is it crazy?
Hey.
Probably. Maybe. I don't know. Could be.
But I gotta protect my peace at all costs.
Listen.
You hear me?
Listen.
And because that's where I'm at.
And I think too, sometimes some people are just tests to see what you're going to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. And that's why it's like I'm never going to be afraid to say no.
Yeah.
Or to let something go, because my hands got to be open to receive.
That's the part.
It's got to be open to receive, and I'd literally rather die first than settle.
Facts.
So, so yeah. But one thing I did tell her is I was like, I've never dated somebody with my zodiac sign, which I think is very strange.
Okay.
And being that I am an Aquarius Pisces cusp, I've never dated a Pisces or an Aquarius or someone on the cusp.
That is interesting. And I'm the same. Like I've never dated Capricorn, so that's the same.
Yes, the last guy that I dated was a Capricorn.
Ah, damn.
I don't recommend. I'm just playing. He was cool. It's funny though, because Scarlett was bashing Capricorn. She was like, "Yeah, I just do not get along with Capricorns." And I was like, Chanel's Capricorn, right? She was like, "Except for Chanel." And I was like, "Okay." And I try not to get all into. I used to be really into the zodiac.
I am crying.
And now I try to just be like, whatever, like I don't care. But it would be interesting to date somebody who's an Aquarius Pisces cusp. Because I feel like that would be like my ultimate mirror.
Oh my God. That's a fact. That would be interesting.
I know tons of women with birthdays around mine.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? I think that's like, what is that? Probably the 14th or is it the 16th through like the 23rd or 22nd or something like that?
Yeah.
That's like February. I think it's it's probably like the 16th through the 22nd. I think that's the Aquarius Pisces cusp. But I know plenty of women with birthdays around there.
Yeah, I think I only know like one dude.
Yeah, I don't know any.
Just one. And that baby Renell. Shout out to Social X. His birthday is around that time too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. I want to say his birthday like the last day of February, like before the leap year day, whatever that is.
That's not it
Oh,
then.
that's not.
That's like the 28th.
Okay. Well, guess I don't know anybody then.
Yeah, he's probably just like a Pisces.
Okay, he's just a regular Pisces. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know
Not
anybody.
that Pisces aren't special. I'm like, he's just a Pisces.
Yeah, I mean, it just
No razzle dazzle. No.
That is interesting though. That would be the ultimate mirror to like date your sign. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know much about Capricorn men, but I know I'd be a trip sometimes. I'll admit that. So yeah. There's that. That's that. Okay. All right, Scarlett. Now I know how you feel about Capricorn.
Yeah, I was like, that's hilarious.
Right. That I needed that laugh. That was hilarious. You like, they are out. Listen, I feel you did. Listen. But we'll see. But no, that was good. The self-realization is real. So
yes. What do you regret not doing when you were younger?
I regret like not living in my creativity. And I feel like I had a lot of it growing up. So I grew up on the east side of Milwaukee. So if you don't know anything about Milwaukee, maybe watch a Dahmer show because it might tell you a little bit how racist Milwaukee is and how segregated it is. So it's those two things. However, on the east side, it's a little different. I feel like the east side is very multicultural. I had white neighbors, I had Hispanic neighbors, I had black neighbors. Like it was very like multicultural, and we all like hung out. We would, play together and all those things. And I feel like I have cousins who are very creative, like artistically, and we would write raps and poems and do skits and stuff. But I would always be like the scary one, like I don't know if I could do this. And I think it hit me like in middle school this one time, like I sang in front of the whole school and kids are just being OC. So I was just like, I can never do that again. Like I'm done with that life. Like just not honing in on my talents and my creativity and things that I like to do. Like even when I got to high school, it was middle school too. So I used to do the morning announcements in middle school. And my principal will always be like, wow, you have such a great speaking voice. Like you should go into journalism and you can be on the news and all these things. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds cool. But then in like high school, it was like, girl, good night. Like you need to find a real job. Like you can't do this for real. Like that was always a thing. Like you can't be a singer. You can't do this for real. Like, so I wish I would have like honed in on my creativity younger and not let people's like their projections rub off on me. Like, oh, I can't do it, but yes, I can do it. Like I could be out here being a rapper because me and my cousin wrote plenty songs as best as we have.
Not a rapper. Well, you could be a ghostwriter. I mean, if you look, I say dust off that notebook and send them in, child. Be a ghostwriter if nothing else. They're gonna be like, educator, also known as.
We could have been out here.
Big C. I don't know what your rap name is.
We could be out here making songs.
I mean, Meg Thee Stallion, she out here. She went to school and became a rapper. I don't know. Look, live your dream.
Listen, live the dream, okay? It's still not too late to live the dream. And that's why I always talk about like how podcasting is kind of like full circle for me because I did want to go into broadcast. Like that was something that I wanted to do like younger. So now like having this platform and being able to speak and talk, it's like, okay, this is kind of full circle. But yeah, I just wish that that's something that I would have changed like growing up, just not being creative enough. And I think as you get older, like that creativity does start to diminish because people are telling you like, well, this is the real world. Like you have to do this. And, like, I feel like, especially like going to MPS, like the arts were kind of diminished through budget cuts and things like that. So it wasn't like art and drama and, all.
But you went to an art school.
I did. But in middle school, we did not have those things. And I did go to arts high school, but it was like, I don't want to really do opera. Like that was out. Like that was not my thing. Like I just did it because that's what was there.
Y'all had vocal jazz.
And the only reason I went to that high school is because that was the only one school that my mom took me to do the audition. Because if I would have went and did the other schools, I probably wouldn't even went to that school. So I kind of just got there. But yeah, I mean, that was cool, but that was not really what I wanted to do. And I guess if I wanted to go to that high school, I would have took it a little more seriously, but that was not it. Because by that time I was just like, well, I can't really do this because I was already tarnished. So,
listen, okay.
So that just kind of fell in my lap. But I wish I would have taken it more seriously and done it a little better, because I feel like at least, so I was in opera, so you had the choice between opera and vocal jazz. So I did the operas because I was like, wow, that's different and cool, as I started to like learn more about it. And I wish I would have been like a little more like less fearful and listening to what other people saying, because I'm like, that's cool. Like a Black girl opera singer, like that's different. So, but yeah, that's something that I would have changed in my youth, of just being creative. And
Yeah, that's so interesting, because I remember when we were like 14 and we were in Upward Bound, and the question was always, what high school are you going to? And you would always say, I'm going to high school of arts. And then they would say, what's your major? You would say, I'm going to be a vocal major. And then they would always say, can you sing something?
Right.
And and I remember like early on when we were in class, you sang in front of the whole class. No problem. No hesitation. I remember the song too. Hold on.
What did I sing? That is so funny.
How does that song go? Sometimes I love her, sometimes I love her not.
Oh yeah,
But I am thankful though. Yes. So
that
I
is
was like, and that was like, that was like when I first met you. So in my mind, you had no hesitation about wanting to sing. No, like, could nobody tell you nothing? Like, I know I can sing. I got this. And I'll sing in front of anybody.
yeah, no. That is so funny.
Yeah. So I was just like, oh, okay. Not only is she late, but she's also a singer.
You're the singing in front of the class. No, that is so funny that you remember that. I don't even remember that, but I remember that song. Like I'm gonna listen to that later too. But I love that song.
Yes. So this is so interesting.
I wish I would have just kept that light, and maybe I could have just been in the music industry somehow, because I really do love music. Like I love sounds. I think, people learn in different ways. Like you might learn visually or through colors, but I really think I learned like through music. Like I can hear melodies and I can hear beats and stuff, and that's how I remember stuff and I learn stuff. So I wish I would have taken it a little more seriously, and I didn't. And it was because it was just like, girl, you can't do it. But I think it goes back to the very first question I answered, of me doubting myself too. So yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
Yep, that's what it boils down to. But yeah, these was real good questions today that I would have never thought to ask myself.
Yeah.
All right, what about you?
I don't think I have many regrets. I think that when I was 16, and I've told this story before, so I won't go too much into detail because y'all already know it, because y'all been listening since the 9-9.
Okay.
But some of y'all are new. So real quick, when I was 16, I actually had a practicum at a law office. And because I was 16, my job was really to do background screenings on people. And so when the attorney was training me, he said to look up my friends, family, etc., just for practice. And I was intending to look up my brother, but my brother and my dad have the same name. So that is when I learned who my dad was and about his addiction and all of that. Before then, I just knew he was in jail, and apparently I just accepted it because he was there most of my life, right? So I was like, that was my baseline. So I accepted that as being normal, I guess, even though it's not. And my mother had never told me what he had done or who he was or anything about his addiction. And I discovered it that day. And at the time, I wanted to be a lawyer. And because I was 16, I didn't know much about law. So I only knew the law that you see on TV, criminal law. So that's what I wanted to do. And so I was obviously devastated. And then they also asked me to just sit in and watch some cases. And there was this young Black man who murdered this white woman because she was elderly and he was trying to rob her. And in the scuffle of trying to get her purse, he knocked her over. She hit her head. She was elderly and she died. And I remember the attorney saying like, oh, he didn't mean to. He was trying to feed his addiction. He comes from a family of addicts and blah, blah, blah. Like, surely it was not his intent for her to die. The attorney was like, well, my client is not here today because she's dead. In the courtroom, crying as a 16-year-old and saying, I will never defend someone like this.
Wow.
And obviously, since then, I've learned a lot about addiction and things. And I think that I probably could have made some sort of impact in that space, just around even not sending addicts to prison. Right.
Yeah.
But like getting them help, like stop criminalizing addictions and maybe get them help. A lot of juveniles going to prison for long periods of time, right? Being tried as adults, stuff like that. So I think I probably could have made a difference there. Maybe, perhaps, who knows? Whenever it comes up in the world, right? Like whenever you hear about these cases, and we had two sisters on our podcast back when it was a podcast. We had two sisters on whose brothers were murdered, right, by police officers, right? Like things like that. I just get all, I don't know.
Listen, pulls at your heart.
I get over engaged
in
whatever's going on, and I think that it's because I still have a passion for it. So I think I allowing the trauma to change who I am or who I was or what I wanted to do.
Ooh, that's good. That is good. And I definitely still see it too. So I think it's still in the cards for the both of us. I'm gonna be a music star and you're gonna be a lawyer. We go.
Maybe I'll do entertainment law and we'll just make it work.
There we go, make it work. There we go.
How about that?
That is it. I love it. That we said it. Now it's out there. So there we go. I love that though.
Sponsor law school.
Very
let your girl know. Because that's one thing I'm not going to do is.
Listen, we can't afford no more school. That's it.
No more student loans. How about that? If somebody could just give me an honorary JD, I would appreciate that. And just waive the whole bar thing.
There we go. Please and thank you.
Actually, well, if I can get one from Marquette, then I don't have to take the bar. So, yes.
Really?
How about that?
That's cool. That's what's up.
Yeah. Graduate from Marquette, you don't have to take the bar in Wisconsin, but if you go to a different state, right? If you're going to practice in a different state, you gotta.
That's elite, like
gotta do that. But yes, in Wisconsin, you don't have to take the bar. Yes. Now, if somebody wants to sponsor, I'm open to that.
There we go. Now it's out there, so you might get a little sponsorship after that. Listen, I love it. All right, we got 2 minutes. I can't believe how fast this show went today. This is really crazy, actually.
Yeah, it went really fast. So what goes in the to-go box?
Yeah. For me, my to-go box is, Chanel, listen to this episode again to get yourself together now. Because you know better. You got to do better, my girl. Like, what are you doing? So that's what I'm taking away. That I need to follow up with this episode. And get my life together, because like I cannot go backwards. I've done so much work that don't go backwards, bro.
Yeah, no, I agree. Mine is to stop procrastinating. like just do it. Break it make it manageable. Do it in the way, be creative. Do it in the way that works for you.
Yes.
Make it work. You get to pick how you work. Do it. Do it. Put on some hype music.
Okay. Get it done. Listen, put on your Mary boots and get your auntie on.
That's what I do when I like. So yes, get stuff done. Be productive. Do it now.
Love it.
Just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
There we go. That's it. I love it.
So yes. Thanks for tuning in to Brunch with Besties. Until next time, heal.